Hello and welcome to UNA Forum Presents, this time the 17th United Nations Association Film Festival, which will be presented in 4 cities, Palo Alto, Stanford University, East Palo Alto, and San Francisco. From October 16th to October 26th, our audience is going to have opportunity to see documentaries from different countries. And for almost 600 submissions, our jury selected 70 documentaries which will change definitely your view of the world. To have a little bit of flavor of our film festival, we have in our studio 4 filmmakers who are going to talk a little bit about the theme of this year, Bridging the Gap. We have Sharon, Michael, Fran, and Veronica to tell you the story about their subjects and about how to bridge the gap. I'm going to start first with Sharon and ask her about traveling to Afghanistan and actually befriending an Iranian filmmaker and telling us about this powerful story to kill the Sparrow.
I didn't travel to Afghanistan. She actually traveled to Berkeley. She lives in Tehran. Her name is Zoreh Soleimani, and she was a fellow at the graduate school, and she had covered the Green Revolution, but anonymously because it's very dangerous to do that. And she sought me out and told me that she had been trying to cover a lot of issues about women, including in Iran, but because she can't really use her name there, she had begun to report in Afghanistan, where women have similar problems as they do in Iran. And she went into and managed to talk her way into the women's prison in Kabul. She actually had to get the man who ran it to agree, and she did. He wanted her to go out with him. She managed not to do that. And she met a young woman who was willing to tell her story. Everyone else was really afraid in the prison. But there was a young woman whose photo is on our poster who felt that she had been put in jail for 6 years because she ran away from an arranged marriage to an old man, older than her father. She had been engaged when she was 5 years old, and then she was taken to marry him when she was 16. And she ran away, and she eventually her father found her, and he put her in prison. The prisons, they're not supposed to do that. The laws say women can marry whom they please, but in fact the jails will put women in prison if the fathers or brothers or husbands say that they should. She spent 3 years documenting the story, went back 3 times and found her. She was released in an amnesty, and she found her in a safe house. And most recently, we just learned that she had won a divorce through the human rights lawyer in our film, and that she, a week ago, married the father of her child, who was born in prison.
Sharon, so let's see the clip from the film To Kill a Sparrow.
Many fear that women's rights are in danger of disappearing in Afghanistan. Young women are sent to prison simply for falling in love with the wrong man. I met such a woman. This is her story. And in some ways, it's the story of all women in Afghanistan.
اسم خودم سوالت فرار کردم 3.5 سال فرار بودم باید 3.5 سال پدرم مرا گرفت 3.5 سال بعد بود مرا بندی کرد پدرم حالی زندان است اولادای ما به سر نمیشت ما خود ما در بدر پدرم اجازه نمیده پدرم اگه یبرا بودم ما آزاد شوم بر از تسلیم میکنم
همون که باش زندگی میکرد باش رفته بود خودش دوست داشت
حتی راضی نیست
خب حتی اگه خودش هم بخواد بازم راضی نمیشه
نه
چی شد که اصلا شما گرفتن دلیلش چی بود
دلیلش همین بود دختر بود با کسی بد دادگی بود ما که رسیدیم ما را دختر آمد در پیش ما گفت یا ما را ببر بفروش هر جایی که میفروشیم یا خودکشی میکنیم هر چی میکنیم ما را خلاص کن اگه حق میگفت نه ما زندان بود نه او زندان بود قانونی با پدرش میگرفت چرا دختر خودت تو با مردم بد دادیم این یه نه در شریعت است نه در قانون است نه در کتاب است نه در عرف است
اگه ای در پیش ما نبیه یا در پیش آدم دیگه خرب نجیز بروه یا کدام روی دیگه بروه باز رو کشته میشه از مردن زدن کشتن ترس نداریم بر ما فقط یک گندشک زدن است
The clip from the film To Kill the Sparrow, which is going to be presented in our 17th United Nations Association Film Festival from October 16 to the 26th. So, Sharon, working with the filmmaker and bringing all these pieces together, it's obviously also bringing filmmaker to the United States is sometimes very difficult, particularly from that part of the world. So we are very happy that the filmmaker is going to be here. So tell us a little bit about the journey that you're going to arrange for the filmmaker, and also about your center.
Okay. Well, Zore is living, moves between Tehran and Berlin. She's engaged to a German journalist. And so she's able to get a visa from the U.S. Embassy whenever she's in Berlin. We write her letters. And, we're not sure exactly whether or not Tehran knows what she's doing, so we have to kind of protect her. We try not to email her using any of the Center for Investigative Reporting email addresses so that we don't draw attention to her work in Tehran because they're still jailing a lot of filmmakers there. But she's been with us 4 times and has stayed as long as 3 months. And she will be back for 2 or 3 weeks, and I think it will be fascinating to hear from her and to really maybe people can ask her questions about why she can't do those kinds of stories in her own country.
And we are very happy that this film is going to be screened as one of our 7 panels, and this one is focusing on women issues about trafficking and rape and modern slavery. Another topic and another subject, obviously, dealing with the children. Michael, you really put together a fascinating film with your colleagues. It's animation, and this is what we always like to present, different kind of documentaries. And this one is focusing on the rights of young people, particularly in the prison. So tell us about the box, and we do have also the book that you can tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the box is the story of Ismail Nazario, who spent close to 300 days in solitary confinement as a teenager on Rikers Island in New York City, which is a jail. And this was before he was convicted of a crime. His story is indicative of a much larger problem we have in this country, where the use of solitary confinement on youth is pervasive. It happens in every state in the country. It's a topic that not a whole lot of people were talking about until very recently. We did a comprehensive investigation into the use of solitary confinement on juveniles, and shortly after that, Eric Holder came out against the use of solitary confinement against juveniles. And there's been a lot of stuff. And just today in the newspaper, it came out that Rikers Island is going to stop using solitary confinement on juveniles. So that's an amazing victory and a great step forward. This particular project is unique because we used the voice of this person, the real voice, but we created an animation. The animated film is going to screen, of course, as part of the United Nations Association Film Festival. And people have an opportunity to see it. There's also the graphic novel here that has some of the illustrations that you will see in the animation, and this tells the story. And we tried to tell the story in a way that would be not only expressive of this person's experience, but might help people from the outside to step inside to the facility. And one of the reasons for using animation is that Rikers Island, the officials in Rikers Island, would not let us inside. I work with the Center for Investigative Reporting, and our reporters tried for a year to get inside. Rikers Island would not allow press into their youth solitary wing. So we decided that a way to tell the story would be to use illustrations, and we took great care working with sources who had been inside to recreate that environment, the dimensions of the solitary confinement cells, the materials they use, and we took great care to portray it in as realistic a way as possible, but it's still a very expressionistic style.
Let's see the clip from the film short documentary Box.
Being in the box as a teenager, it took a toll on me mentally. Why would you want to put a kid through this? My mother was actually diagnosed with breast cancer when I was 13. I had to witness her go through chemotherapy and radiation treatment. So, my mother lost all her hair, all of that stuff. So, at the age of 13, that took a toll on me. My grades started to decrease. I guess you could say I linked up with the wrong crowd. At the age of 15 was actually the first time I was actually put in handcuffs. I was arrested, brought to the precinct and everything. At the age of 16, I was remanded to Rikers Island. When the bus came, you had to shackle you. So that ride was just a lot to take in. Driving past places like I used to hang out. So I'm looking at the places that I used to hang out, and I'm just like, oh my God. It ain't hit me yet until we started going across that bridge to Rikers Island. As soon as I started going across that bridge, I was like, what did I get myself into? I'm really going to Rikers Island.
The Box will be screened in our 17th United Nations Association Film Festival. So, Michael, you use also not only animation, but a very appealing music for younger people. So tell us a little bit about that collaboration, please.
Sure. I think one of the challenges when working on difficult stories is to get audience involved that's not just the insider intellectuals or people who are in the ivory tower of journalism. So I wanted to reach youth and the actual population that was affected. So, I worked with some friends in the music industry to try to get a track, and we were lucky enough to get a song by Mos Def, who let us use one of his songs. And you hear the instrumental there as the bus is going over the bridge to Rikers Island, and then at the end of the film, the full version with the lyrics come back at the end. And I think it brings a lot to the film and makes it a better film, and also hopefully it will bring the attention of younger audiences. And
it's beautiful because we always love that musicians are supporting documentary filmmaking, and our film festival is always about documentary filmmaking. So I have to say also to make a small publicity for the festival that our trailer is supported by Moby, a musician, so which is also always giving to the non-profit organizations and the filmmakers, documentary filmmakers music as well. So that's a big plus that we have those people to embrace the topics that we are presenting. Fran, in your case, the bridging the gap is really very obvious because you're trying to embrace the disabled people and give them a chance to spread their message through arts. So tell us about Mural.
Yeah, the Mural is a close to 20 minutes documentary film following the stories of artists with and without disabilities and how they collaborate and work together on the painting of a mural. That the message behind the painting is painting a wall to erase those barriers or limits that we normally place on people with developmental disabilities, and how through art, artists with and without disabilities, we are like bridging the gap by breaking down those barriers. Because when it comes to making art, there are really no limits. Art means free expression, And even if you're a disabled person, through art, you are as free as a person without disabilities. So that's the main message of the mural.
So let's see the clip from the documentary, The Mural.
In regard to making art, they have no barriers. It gives them a chance to show the world who they are.
So working with the disabled people and telling them that you are a documentary filmmaker who would like to put a part of their life on the screen, was it a difficult process, or how actually you build the trust between your subject and the presentation, what you want to get from them?
It's a very interesting process. I would say we broke the ice little by little, and we made our presence as small as possible, bringing small cameras, trying not to give the impression that we were like filming and putting together a big montage. Because for the most, if you see the film, what you are seeing is like people making art, and it's such a personal process that if you're like really present, then you're like establishing, the presence of the camera, and therefore you can see in the person that you are portraying, you can see the camera being present. So we try to sneak in and be as invisible as possible.
Veronica, in your case, that's the same thing, because you were dealing with a very touchy subject. It's your cousin who was having signs of depression. So you decided actually to make a documentary and making and conversation and trying to record and put this on the film. Was the process probably taking months and months?
Well, yeah, he's actually my nephew. So I remembered when he was born and seen him grow up, and I'd known that he had problems for a long time. He is probably on the autism spectrum, and when he was a teenager, he was hospitalized. But shortly before I made the film was when I talked to him, and I knew that he had recently been hospitalized, but it was the first time that he was actually psychotic. He had a psychotic break. He was not being rational, and it scared me. It was in Thanksgiving that I called him. He had disappeared, and he had gone off somewhere trying to get to Disneyland, and then he eventually appeared again, and I talked to him on the phone. And this was, we don't live in the same place, so I don't see him that often. But this was a couple of weeks before Sandy Hook happened. And he, he's fascinated with guns. He loves, violent video games, and he looks a little bit like Adam Lanza. So I was a little bit scared of him, so something that I was thinking about. And then when I actually did see him, I recognized his humanity right away. I recognized my nephew. He was still the same guy that he had always been. But there was something that was still in my mind, that whole experience of being afraid of him, and I wanted to learn more about his life. And so this film was part of that process. And I asked him if he would be willing to participate, and he was willing to do it, and he was excited about it. I lent him my old video camera, and so a lot of his footage is in the film. I think he was. I think the process helped both of us reconnect. I think.
So let's see, Veronica. Let's see the clip from the Light and Dark.
Ready? Natalie, don't spit on it. 4.
What's today?
I'm 5.
Today's your birthday?
Yeah.
This is my nephew, Nathaniel.
Yeah.
He's 21 now. Last fall, Nathaniel had a psychotic break. Natty believed that military drones were spying on him, that people on TV were trying to communicate with him. And he made a chemical suit out of his green robe to protect himself from the Wi-Fi router. I usually only see him at family get-togethers, so it wasn't until Thanksgiving that I spoke to him on the phone, and he was in full manic mode.
I saw and I could hear a drone flying overhead like they use in the Middle East, but it's a reconnaissance drone. I could hear the propeller on the back.
You didn't think it was just a regular
No,
plane?
I saw it. The CIA deploys them, the U.S. Air Force deploys them to conduct
why do you think they were
airstrikes.
following you?
Because I was a risk.
Light and Dark will be screened as part of our 17th United Nations Association Film Festival. Veronica, on Wednesday we'll have a presentation of the film, but also we're going to have a panel and a discussion at the medical school. And we hope also to have your nephew with us. So when you first screened the film for him, what was his reaction?
He saw it the first time, actually. I made the film as a student at Stanford. So it was screened at Stanford. A lot of families were there. And, you know, he really, he didn't like all of the clips that I chose. He had some ideas for some better clips. But he was excited about, you know, making people laugh, as he does in the film. And he actually liked the attention. So I think it was a good experience for him.
So all these films that we were just talking about, they're going to be presented at our 17th UNAFF, and obviously we would like to invite our audience to join us during the screenings. We're going to have a discussion with our filmmakers and the subjects of the film, but also we would like to invite you to follow us on the Facebook and the Twitter. And this is the program that we have for our 17th UNAFF. It's going to be a brochure, very intensive with the schedule and all the details about the tickets, and as well as the filmmakers' contact. But I would like to ask the filmmakers to tell us the way how they want to embrace the audience, and also what is going to happen with our film festival. We give you a platform, but what is the next, and what is the way that you're planning to use for the distribution? So, Sharon.
Well, To Kill a Sparrow is a deeply personal, you know, story of one woman who truly does represent thousands of women in Afghanistan. So we hope the audience will actually ask questions about how unusual or how common her story is, and also, you know, what might happen when the U.S. leaves Afghanistan. Because when we went in after getting Osama bin Laden, we really made women and women's rights and women's education a huge priority. So we hope people will be engaged to really think about, you know, what should you do about this. In terms of distribution, we're really excited because the film is going to be streamed on the New York Times website in the next 2 weeks.
Oh, that's wonderful.
A reporter in Kabul who has been reporting on these sort of star-crossed lovers in Afghanistan actually found Sohaila, and just a few days after she had married the father of her child, so a happy ending to this love story so far. But the family is still deeply estranged from her, and they still are threatening to try to find her son and her husband, and will kill them to sort of because of the issue of honor in their family. So I think that the bigger discussion is really what about our policy? We don't give asylum to women who are victims of domestic violence in the United States. So none of these women are eligible to come here. And so the question is, where can these women be safe?
And so obviously a wonderful topic again for all young people to be engaged in a discussion and seeing this film and having a discussion and obviously connecting with the young women in Afghanistan and making a connection and maybe traveling and trying also to train the new women in the new politics in Afghanistan. So Michael, the plan for the distribution of the film, which is really obviously important because we saw what's happening today in the prison. So
yes, the plan. I mean, we're in the beginning of the film festival cycle here, so we're really pleased to be screening at Stanford at the UNAFF Festival. We're also going to screen at Napa Valley Film Festival and the New Orleans Film Festival. And today it's the international premiere at Raindance Film Festival. So once the festival circuit, once we make our way through that, we have a YouTube channel where we published so that people can enjoy the film online. And if you do a search online for The Box, Juveniles in Solitary Confinement, you'll be able to see it there.
Fran, for
in our case, we're doing this festival circuit as well. The premiere is going to be here at the UNAFF International Premiere.
Oh, that's wonderful. We're so happy.
And it's being already selected at 11 other film festivals. After the festival circuit, we're building a website through which the film is going to become interactive. So you're going to be able to buy the art made by the artist that you see on the film, and the revenue is going to go to support the main nonprofit that appears in the film.
That's wonderful. And Veronica?
So Light and Dark will be part of a panel that's going to be showing at the Stanford Medical School. It's going to be showing with another great film called Slow Mo, another short film about an eccentric neurologist who also found an interesting way to deal with his depression. And then another film that I haven't seen yet called Running from Crazy, which has to do with Muriel Hemingway and her how she's dealt with mental illness.
So obviously a lot of films, and for the 17th United Nations Association film, all the information you can find on our website, unaff.org, and we hope to see you all at the festival and bring your guests and the subject of the film as well. So thank you so much for being with us in the studio. We'll see you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.